Exodus 14 has one of the most famous passages in mysticism and in movies, verses 19 to 21. And, the Shem HaMephorash, the name they extend comes from that. Shem HaMephorash. We have Zeburun Kasher as the note for verse 13. And verse 28, Brash Amud Semen Be Hey Shem Shemitz. Okay. And I've gone over elsewhere why there's a couple what you'd call misspellings and what that would do to the Shem HaMephorash. But the autumn equinox in particular, I've wrote that paper to be timed for that. And God, as noun and verb, spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, that they turn and encamp before Haftaroth, between Migdol and the sea, over against Baal Shaphon, before it shall ye encamp by the sea. Now, there's differences. If you say TZ, kind of spratchily or something, people will get what you're talking about, what you're saying, or otherwise. Same with TS, but perhaps the letter there is closer to the ancient Egyptian or Arabic or some other North African language, and how you say it. For Pharaoh will say of the children of Israel, they are entangled in the land and wilderness, hath shut them in, and I will harden Pharaoh's heart, that he shall follow after them, and I will be honored upon Pharaoh and upon all his host, that the Egyptians may know that I am God as noun and verb. And they did so. Because either you flip your tongue back and or you kind of make it more of a throat sound. So cerebral or guttural with that. And was told the king of Egypt that the people fled, and the heart of Pharaoh and of his servants was turned against the people. And they said, Why have we done this, that we let Israel go from serving us? And he made ready his chariot, and took his people with him. And he took 600 chosen chariots, and all the chariots of Egypt, and captains over every one of them. And God as noun and verb hardened the heart of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Now, can't we also say, and the hardening of the heart regarding God, and the hardening regarding God of the heart of Pharaoh? See, not necessarily God did it. King of Egypt, and he pursued after the children of Israel, and the children of Israel went out with a high hand, but the Egyptians pursued after them all the horses and the chariots of Pharaoh, and his horsemen and his army, and overtook them encamping by the sea, besides Haftaroth, before Baal Shaphon. And when Pharaoh drew nigh, the children of Israel lifted up their eyes, and behold, the Egyptians marched after them, and they were sore afraid, and the children of Israel cried out unto God as noun and verb. And they said unto Moses, Because there were no graves in Egypt, hast thou taken us away to die in the wilderness? Wherefore hast thou dealt with us to carry forth us out of Egypt. Is not this the word that we did speak unto thee in Egypt, saying, Let us alone, that we may serve the Egyptians? For it had been better for us to serve the Egyptians than that we should die in the wilderness. And Moses said unto the people, Fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of God as noun and verb, which he will show you today. For the Egyptians, whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever. And God as noun and verb shall fight for you, and ye shall hold your peace. But see, you have to not fear and take your own actions for God to so come in and take your side. It's sort of like the Vedic or Vestan, approach. And God as noun and verb said unto Moses, Wherefore criest thou unto me? Speakest unto the children of Israel that they go forward. But lift thou up thy rod, and stretch out thine hand over the sea, and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go on dry ground through the midst of the sea. And behold, I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians, and they shall follow them. And I will get me honor upon Pharaoh, and upon all his host, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. And the Egyptians shall know that I am God as noun and verb, when I have gotten me honor upon Pharaoh, upon his chariots, and upon his horsemen. The angel of God is noun and verb. The angel of divinity. Yep, the angel of divinity, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them. And the pillar of the cloud went from before their face and stood behind them. And it came to pass, and it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel, and it was a cloud of darkness to them. But it gave light by night to these, so that the one came not near the other all the night. And Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and God as noun and verb caused the sea to go back by a strong east wind all that night, and made the sea dry land, and the waters were divided. And, that technicolor, Heston and all that, like toilet pole blue or something, that when that movie, that Technicolor movie. But right to left as usual, left to right to left, and then you read the columns, and you add YH or AL, each of those 36 times a piece, and you get these angel names, you could say. And the children of Israel went into the midst of the sea, upon the dry ground, and the waters were a wall unto them on the right hand and on their left. And the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. And it came to pass that in the morning watch, God as noun and verb looked unto the host of the Egyptians through the pillar of fire and of the cloud, and troubled the host of the Egyptians, and took off their chariot wheels, that they drave them heavily, so that the Egyptians said, Let us flee from the face of Israel, for God as noun and verb fighteth for them against the Egyptians. And God as noun and verb said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand over the sea, and that the waters may come again upon the Egyptians, upon their chariots, upon their horsemen. And Moses stretched forth his hand over the sea, and the sea returned to his strength when the morning appeared, and the Egyptians fled against it. And God as noun and verb overthrew the Egyptians in the midst of the sea, and the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen, and all the host of Pharaoh that came unto sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them, but the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. Thus God as noun and verb saved Israel that day out of the hand of the Egyptians. And Israel saw the Egyptians dead upon the seashore, and Israel saw that the great work which God as noun and verb did upon the Egyptians, and the people feared God as noun and verb, and believed God as noun and verb, and his servant Moses. And there's this land. Where's the land before we? P. Hatchirt. Chert is engraven. And it's also related to evacuating or removing. P and words like that, pee, poo, paw, they indicate something on an edge or something coming forth from an edge. Weedbur Yahweh al Masha, Lamer Bur al Bani, Yishral, Wishbu, Wichnu, Labni, P, Hechirt, Bin, Magdul. Wabin, Hin, Labni, Bal, Spun, Nukchu, Technu, Alhim, Wamer, Pur'ah, Labni, Yashral, Nabkim, Hum, Barts, Sagur, Alik, Humdaber, which Sakti, at Lab, Pur'ah, Warduf, Achriham, Wakbada, Baprah, Wapkul, Chilu, Widau, Matzrim ki Ani, Yahweh, We Ashu kan, Wigad, Lamluk, Matzrim ki Birch, Ham, We Hapak, Labub, Pra'ah, Wabdu, El Ham, We Amru, Mahzat, Ashinu ki Shulchanu, at Yishral, Mabdanu, We Asr, at Rakbu, Wat Amu, Lakah, Amu, Wikach, Shesh, Mount, Rakab, Betchur, Wakul, Rakab, Mitzrim, which Lichem, Al Klu, Wichazak, Yahweh at Lib, Per'ah, Mulk, Mitzrim, Girdif, Achri, Bani Yishral, Wabni Yishral, Yatsam, Bid, Rama, Weirdapu, Mitzrim, Achrihim, Wish, Yagu, Autumn, Chanim, Al, Him, Kol, Sus, Rakab, Per'ah, Wip, Rushu, Wachilu, Al, P, Hachirat, Lapni, Bal, Spoon, Wabrah, Hakrib, Wishau, Bani Yishral, at Ainiham, Wahna, Matzrim, Nasa, Achriham, We Yurau Mad, Witz Aku, Bani Yishral al Yahweh, We Amru al Mashah, Ham Bli, Ain, Qabrim, Bumtsrim, Lakchutnu, Lamut, Bumd, Bur, Mahzat, Ashyit, Lanu, Lahwutyanu, Memtsrim, Chala, Zah, Hetber, Asher, Debrenu, Alik, Bumtsrim, Lemmer, Tadul, Memnu, Wen Abda, At Mitzrim Ki, Thub, Lenu, Abad, At Mitzrim, Mem Tenu, Bumdber, We Amr, Shah, Al Ham, Al Tirau, Hetitsbu, Rau, At Yeshu, At Yahweh, Asher, Yasha, Lukum, Hiyum Ki Asher, Reitum, At Mitzrim, Hiyum La Tuspu, Laratum, Aud, Ad, Aulam, Yahweh, Yulchum, Lukum, Watum, Tech Rishun, We Amr, Yahweh, Al Masha, Ma, Tetzak, Ali Deber, Al Bani Yishral, We Saw, Wata, Herm, At Mathak, Wintha, At Yidik, Al Him, Wub, Kahu, We Bow, Bani Yishral, Batuk Him, Be Basha, Wani, Hani, Machzak, At Lib, Mitzrim, We Bow, Atriham, Wakbada, Bub Ra, Wub Kul, Chilu, Burkbu, Wub Pershu, We Dow Mitzrim, Ki Ani Yahweh, Bah Kubdi, Bub Ra, Bur Kubu, Wub Pershu. And I think it best to save this for the next program, so 19 to 31.